Stages on the path of realization. Chapter 7. The highest point of approach or the final goal of life is a state of complete negation, nothingness or zero. So there is self-negation and there is complete negation. The complete negation is when you are in the center. Self-negation is when you actually enter into the central region. So the complete negation, nothingness or zero. I have tried to indicate this in the diagram. The diagram here page ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಇದು ನೋಡಿ 449 ಅಲ್ಲಿ next. The concentric circles drawn around the center roughly denote the different spiritual spheres we come across during our progress. Beginning our march from the outermost circle, we proceed towards the center, crossing each circle to acquire the next stage. It is an immensely vast region. So circles ಎಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ, see you have two choices. You can go round and round in every circle. You still feel that you are moving, but you are actually not going towards the center. That is what happens when we are stuck in the cycle of life and death. We are just going around in the peripheral circles. That's why the third maxim of being oriented towards the goal is very important. Only then we change direction. Okay, so you can infinitely move around in any circle. You can move towards the infinity, towards the center, and journey towards the infinity. Both are movement only. So if you just go round on the periphery of the circle, there is infinite movement, but there is no evolution. But if you start moving in the direction of the center, there is infinite movement also, but at the same time, there is the journey towards the goal, the center. Same. So just infinite movement is not sufficient. Infinite movement in what direction? That is the most critical thing. Same. And that is evolution. Infinite movement in the right direction is evolution. For example, if you want to swim, you have to move your limbs. Right? If that is the case, it's not a random movement. Now you can keep moving the limbs in a random movement. That's not going to help you master swimming. When you move the limb in a coordinated fashion, that is what is going to help you achieve what you are looking for in swimming. In being able to float on the top of water, in being able to swim across the surface of the water, whether it's a deeper level, at a surface level, you will be able to swim across water. Now the swimming is because of the coordinated movement, not because of some random movements. You can have infinitely random movement, but still not learn swimming. For you to learn swimming, the different body positions, positions should be appropriate. And then there should be coordinated movement. And there should be a direction. When only all the three are there, you learn swimming. Right? So the same thing with the driving. It's not a random movements of applying different parts of the car. That's not driving. It's a coordinated application of the movement, the different parts of the car. It's a skillful application in the direction, in a particular direction, towards the goal. That is what you call as driving. Even if you say that I just want to go around in a car, that is also a goal. So does it make sense? So many people think that this random movement around the center itself is around the circles itself is sufficient for spiritual journey. That's why Daji is now talking about awareness and observation and feeling. When you apply the art of awareness, observation, and feeling, that is when you're actually moving towards the center, evolving. Without these three things, there's no question of evolving towards the center. Does it make sense? So, just the remembrance of God is insufficient for you to go to the highest. Just remembrance. In fact, Lalaji writes in 44 Whispers. In his previous life, the entire life he spent in remembrance of God. And then he asked himself a question: then why was I born again in this life? So that's a very interesting question. He also answers that question. I would want you to search for that answer in the 1944 Whispers. No, Bharat, we have to give you some homework. No, otherwise you will get everything on the platter. Do some homework, some effort in direction. Bharat was looking for an answer very keenly. His mind became sharp. Suddenly I said, you do the homework. So it was this. So there's a very interesting conversation. So 1944 Whispers, the 4 volumes, no? It has wealth of information. If you just look at that, you'll see so many things in that. Just prayer is insufficient to get merger. You remember that we read in Heartfulness Way. What is required for merger is meditation. Prayer in itself will not give you merger. In prayer, the duality is maintained. So there is a person who is praying and there is a person who is prayed to. And there is the act of praying. Although we become unaware of it. But still that is there. The duality is maintained. The merger will only occur because of meditation. Okay, so 2 things. Remembrance, and there are a lot of people, oh, I'm doing constant remembrance, I don't need to do practice. I don't need to do meditation. There are many people like that. So just remember these 2 things. Remembrance in itself is insufficient for us to reach the goal. Prayer in itself will not give you merger. Now you have to check with that with Lalaji. You saw the message. Others saw the message, no? Lalaji chose to come back. We have to check with Lalaji. If you want to check with Lalaji, catch hold of him first. And then you can check. I've already given a clue that he has actually answered that question. And our Gopal Krishna is already speculating. What this, what that. Bharat ಏನೋ ಕೇಳ್ಬೇಕಾ?
It's in which
You got the
whisper?
answer from me.
It's in which book? 1, 2, 3.
You find out that. If you want to find that out, you need to read the book.
It is
Otherwise,
very
you will not read
small.
the book. You will only read that paragraph and then be done with it. Right? See, this is the right age to read it. I'll tell you so many things you'll learn. So many interesting things you'll learn. With all the things that you have learned now in the reading sessions, you will not find it difficult to read the 44 Whispers. You will have a much, much better preparation. You already have a better preparation to read the book. So when you read the book, you will prepare yourself even further better. Every Abhyasi should read the 1944 Whispers. Both English and Kannada, 2 languages. And there is one Urdu also. If you are ready to read Urdu, I'll give you the Urdu book also. But Urdu in Hindi lipi. So we can have that also. It has wealth of information. ಸರಿ ನೀನು ಕೇಳಬೇಕು ನೀನು ಕೇಳಬೇಕಾ
It's not going up 10 page.
Not going up 10 pages, sir.
I have read till 10 to 12 pages. It is a very slow whisper.
Actually, we are reading the whispers for the preceptors. We're halfway through the first volume for all the preceptors. English and Kannada we are reading together. Anyway, we'll park it there. We'll continue here. So beginning our march from the outermost circle, we proceed towards the center, crossing each circle to acquire the next stage. It is an immensely vast expanse. We take up the heart, which is the nucleus, for meditation and go on with it till the goal is attained. There are 5 points or subcenters in this heart region, which we have to pass through in the course of our journey. At each point, it means at each knot or chakra, the following 4 conditions are felt in this order. The first one is a peculiar state all over, awakening within the mind a consciousness of the divine force pervading all over. That's the first thing that you will feel. When you enter into the chakra, means that means Salokyata. Salokyata means you are entering into that chakra. That's all. So when that chakra is activated and you are entering into the chakra, you feel a peculiar state of awakening within the mind, a consciousness of a divine force all over. So it's about the divine force. Okay. Then as you proceed towards the next stage, from Salokyata to Samipyata, a divine state prevailing everywhere and you are absorbed with its remembrance. So initially you feel the divine force. Then you now feel that there is that divine state pervading everywhere and you are absorbed in its remembrance. So one is divine force, other one is divine state with absorption. Second state. So that is Samipyata. Then third one is neither the feeling of the divine force nor that of the remembrance, but only a feeling of negation. Both are gone. The feeling of divine force is also gone. The feeling of the divine remembrance is also gone. Both are gone. Only a feeling of negation is there. Third stage. Now that is like Sarupyata. Then the last one is everything is gone. No impression upon the heart, not even of the essence. That is Sayujjata. So you become that. When you become that, there is no impression. So there is no force upon the heart, there is no impression. There is not even the feeling of the essence. When you feel that you are actually absorbing the divine essence, you are separate and divine essence is separate. So in Sayujjata, you become merged. So you have become that. So there is no question of any essence or impression, nothing of that kind. So 4. So that is Sayujjata. Okay. So the initial stage, what you feel when you enter into a chakra, you feel that there is a kind of a divine force pervading all over. That is Salokyata. Then as you move towards the center of that particular knot or the point, you are now going towards the Samipyata. What is Samipyata? You are going closer to the center of that particular point. That is Samipyata. Now it is during the Samipyata that you actually start manifesting the different conditions of the particular chakra. So what Daji is written about, different conditions at different chakras, no? That is what you start manifesting when you start going towards the center of the point. That is the Samipyata. All the conditions are during the Samipyata. Now, as you become Sarupyata, the conditions gradually start to disappear. It starts becoming one with you. But still, you are different from the center of that particular knot. So there are 2 entities. But there is negation, means negation of all the conditions that you experience during the Samipyata. That is the negation. That's the third stage. So in that way, you become Sarupya. Without becoming Sarupya, you cannot merge. The center in every point is 0 only, nothingness only. If the center is nothingness, then we have to become like nothing. Then only we can merge. So in the Sarupyata, you are going towards that state of negation. Then in the end, after you have got the Sarupyata, you start merging into the center of the chakra. And that is the Sayujjata. In Sayujjata, there is no essence, there is no impression, nothing of that kind. Now you have mastered that particular chakra. But in our system, master does not wait for everyone to have Sayujata in every chakra. No. He'll wait for certain conditions to manifest in the Samipyata. And after certain conditions are actually manifested during the Samipyata, he'll push you towards the next chakra. Then the work on that chakra will continue during your sessions. Although you are now in the next part of the chakra, next part of the journey, but somehow the transmission that is given during the sitting goes to the previous chakra also. So the work gradually continues there in a low flame. So that's why in our system, we work on multiple points in every sitting. That's how we progress faster. Okay. So I hope this is clear. This will come as an examination question. That's why I explained. So initially there is a feeling of divine force pervading everywhere. Second one, there is a divine remembrance, a divine state along with absorption in its remembrance. That is when you get the conditions. Then the divine force is also called gone, and the absorption, the remembrance also is now gone. So what is there left? A feeling of negation. That's the third stage. Then in the fourth stage, even that feeling of negation is also gone. There is no impression, there is no essence. You have become that. Okay. So this is an examination question. So that's why I spent a bit of time on this. Now, these four conditions are experienced in every region at every point. Unlike the Sahajmarg system of spiritual training, everyone passes through them, though perhaps only the more sensitive ones are able to feel all the conditions in their minutest details. These conditions go on getting more and more refined as we proceed through the various subcenters from the lowest to the highest. So whatever experiences that you have in the first 5 points, you get the same experience in the next 5 points in a refined form. So if you get the peace here, you get a refined peace in the next 5 points. If you get love here, you get refined love in the next 5 points. If you get courage here, you get refined courage in the next 5 points. If you get vairagya, you get paravairagya, refined vairagya in the next point. That is what happens. If you get bhakti, you get para bhakti. So if you add para to all the conditions that you get in the lower 5 points, you are getting the higher conditions of the higher points. So just add para to the next 5 points. What to do after that? You add maha. That's the next one. The next further refinement from para to maha. What to add next? When you enter into the central region, add adi. That's all it is. So from the initial point, if you add para, it will be the next 5 points. You add maha, it will be the next 3 points. Then you add adi, it will be the journey in the central region. You know, that is the reason why our Sadguru has kept the name of the statue as
Adi Yogi.
Adi Yogi, means beyond time. Adi is used in two different meanings. Adi means very old, ancient. Adi kaladalli. Anadi kaladalli. That's what we say in Kannada. So there, the context that you are using is that in olden times. But actual meaning of Adi is beyond time. Okay. Now, if you look at Adi, take away the statue form, and you are connecting to the essence of Adi. That actually center only. There is no different. The center has been given a human form, and that becomes Adi Yogi. And can you talk about any blunder in that? In the Adi Yogi, one of the blunders that you see.
You meant in the statue?
ಭರತ್ ಸಕ್ಕದ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಕತ್ತರಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇನೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ. See, the statue is not a full human form. You remember, when do we have to meditate on the human master as a human? Entire body. That's the caveat. And by having that half human at the level of the chest is actually a big blunder. Anybody who is going to meditate on that particular form is not going to go to the center. That itself is a blunder. One, you are actually making it concrete. When you make it concrete, where are you going towards subtlety? You are not going. And secondly, you are giving half human form. That itself will become a blockage for the reaching the center. So this is what happens when you are in a particular system and you develop half-baked knowledge of that particular system and develop your own system. This is what happens. This is the risk, that you don't get the full essence of it. So if you apply what we read about meditating on the form of the master, meditation on the form of the master should come only when your heart prompts it. Then you have to meditate on the full form of the master. These are the two caveats. And you are not going to meditate on the form of the master as an idol. You are going to meditate on the full form of the master as a living entity. Big difference. Can you see? So only when that happens, of course, meditating on the full form of the master can actually take you to the center. Parayilla. Bharat, hingande, you caught the essence. Good. So you have to apply what you learn to what you see around. Whether in our system, other system, doesn't matter. So there are many people who feel like they want to establish their order. Now, if that is the case, you need to be fully assimilated of the system that you are actually following. In fact, if you get full assimilation of the things that you are actually studying in a particular system, you don't feel like actually starting your own order. There's no need. You just refine that system, that's all. So sometimes people are keen to become masters. And that's when the scope for that is not available in a particular system that they are following, they will develop their own system. This is what happens. Again, it's a question of getting stuck with the masterhood. And what is the point of masterhood? Where you get stuck in the idea of masterhood? Which point is it? 10th point. In the 10th point, there is an awakening of the person feeling that they are the masters of the entire things which have been created. When that feeling of masterhood takes over the system, that is when you feel like leaving the system and establishing your own order or your own system. That is what happens. Serena. Anyway. So you now remember the formula. The Pinda Pradesh plane, then the 6 to 10 points Para, 10 to 13 points Maha, and the central region Adi. So Babaji talked about Adi Maya. And now our Sadguru is talking about Adi Yogi. When we cross the 5th point, our passage towards our chakra, Agna chakra, becomes straight. That's because we have a zigzag movement in the chest. Then after that, it becomes straight. The condition at this point is peculiar. From this point, the energy which we consume is diverted towards the lower regions. During our journey to this point, the main major condition which one experience is a feeling of something like a shadowy darkness. This is only a clue to show that we have finally to go beyond light. Its real nature pertains neither to light or darkness, but to the dawn-like color. As you come here from the fifth point to the sixth point, what you experience is a shadowy darkness kind of a feeling. There is darkness, but it's like a shadow. So the darkness is not real, but it's like a shadow, shadowy darkness. So there is darkness outside. So that is darkness. There is no light. But suppose in that darkness there is a shadow. Or there is some amount of light, but there is a shadow. But in the shadow is always dark. Have you seen that? The shadow is always dark. So this is the feeling that Babuji is talking about. You will feel the darkness, but it appears like a shadowy darkness, not real darkness. In other words, there is still light. So we still have to go beyond the light and darkness. That's the final state. Okay. Anyway, after crossing the fifth chakra of the heart region, we enter into the mind region. See, now here he's talking about after crossing the fifth chakra here, we are entering the mind region. So in Sahajmarg philosophy is written differently. When you read the efficacy of Raja Yoga, it was read differently. You remember that? The heart region extends from the toes to the top of the head. If you take that definition, it means 1 to 10. If you take this here, what is written here, it is 1 to 5, and then sixth point is the mind region. Anyway, the 11 circles of this region depict the various stages of egoism. The conditions get subtler and finer as one progresses through them. There are innumerable points and knots in each of these circles. Each of these circles. So if you take a circle, there are innumerable knots and points. In the ordinary course, it would require the whole lifetime for going from one point to the next point. But for the wonderful yogic process of pranahuti. Now, by the time we reach the 16th circle, we are almost free from egoism. The condition here has rarely been attained even by the greatest sages. As far as my vision goes, I find that none except Kabir who could have secured approach up to this point or stage. 16th circle, apart from my great master who has attained stages far beyond the limits of human approach. After this circle, what remains in one is a mere identity still in the gross form. So after crossing the 16th circle, now you establish yourself in gross identity. Before reaching this point, we pass through the Virat region of the Sahasradal Kamal, the lotus of the 1,000 petals. It is from this region that the Virat Roop was brought to Arjuna's vision at the time of the battle of Mahabharata. It is the macrocosm. Here, we begin to experience to some extent a changeless conditions which we may call as Brahmagati or the state of the divine. In the course of this march, we pass through and cross various centers having their own particular conditions. So the Sahasradal Kamal is there between the 10th and 11th point. Then the entire region between the 6th point to the 10th point is the Virat region. That is the thing. Now, from there, Arjuna was given a vision of Krishna's Vishwarupa. So, it is from this region that the Virat Roop was brought to Arjuna's vision at the time of Mahabharata, and that is the macrocosm. Now, obviously, at what point do we enter into the divine kingdom? Ninth point. Correct. So, at the 9th point, we start entering into the divine kingdom. And at the 10th point, we get a taste of the divine kingdom. So that's when we feel that we are masters of everything in creation. Okay. So that entire Virat region is the macrocosm. And Arjuna was shown that macrocosm during Mahabharata war by Krishna. So when we enter into that state, we start getting a taste of the Brahmagati, because you are now entering into the realm of the Brahman or the Bhuma. So you start getting a taste of the Brahmagati or the state of the divine. After crossing the 7 rings of splendor of the center region, one enters the vast, limitless expanse, the infinite, and starts swimming in it. Here, the Guru's assistance is still needed, since even the subtlest force of the swimmer, in the act of his heavy swimming, can set up waves of energy that erect a barrier against the progress. Only the experienced, capable, and watchful Guru helps in settling the waves and teaching the swimmer the art of light swimming. The light swimming is almost akin to floating, but still it is not floating. Which type of swimming does not set up opposing waves? So the definition of that swimming is that it should not set up opposing waves. The Guru also helps to keep the swimmer from slipping into enjoyment of the state of light swimming, which will impede further progress and takes him on the further journey. Otherwise, he will start liking the swimming. Okay, I'll keep swimming here only. I will not go to the center. I'm happy swimming here. So see, we can fall into the trap of enjoyment of the swimming also. So Guru's job is indispensable till you reach the goal. Now we reach the sphere of the dormant center, which is also seems to be enclosed by something like a ring, which is the last one. For the sake of expression and experiment, I once made an attempt to enter into it, but a sudden, strong, and forceful push threw me back, though I was able to get a momentary peep into it. This has made me conclude that this is perhaps the last possible limit of human approach. I wish everyone to have access up to it and beyond it, if at all possible. Now, the form of the gross identity that we got at the enter of the center region, as I called it, has all the time been getting finer and subtler to the last possible limit. We have now secured a position which is nearmost to the center, and it is the highest possible approach of man. Here we are in close harmony with the very real condition. When one gets in close touch with the Bhuma or the ultimate or the center or God in the absolute state, what and where he is beyond his understanding. Complete merging into the center of the Almighty is, however, not possible, since it is essential to maintain a nominal difference between God and man, God and the soul. So even after liberation, even after the body has been shed, that nominal difference is still maintained. That nominal difference is taken away at the time of Mahapralaya. Now, such is the extent of the possibility of human achievement which one should fix his eyes upon from the very beginning if he wishes to make the greatest progress on the path of realization. Very few among the saints or yogis ever had any conception of it. In most cases, the farthest approach was up to the second or the third circle. It is unfortunate that even at this early stage, they sometimes consider their achievement to be very great. I have given all this only to enable people to judge the so-called great doctors of divinity who are said to have attained perfection and are generally accepted as such by the ignorant masses who judge their worth only by their outward appearance and elegance. Goal ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಫಿಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಲ್ವಾ? So now you have fixed the goal. Now you have to start the journey. Sarina? Okay, we have just finished on time, on dot 7:15. So it's a fairly easy chapter in the sense that straight away he has described what are supposed to happen. This state that Babuji is now calling about merger, there is no actual merger. Daji writes about it that we actually don't end up in merger, we go beyond merger. It's like we are trying to sleep and then we don't know when we slept, we go into sleep. Now that Mergence into sleep, nobody can feel. If somebody were to ask you, now tell me the right moment when you slept, nobody can tell that. We just slip into the sleep, which is beyond merger. That's how it is. So although Babuji says there is no merger, Daji talks about it as beyond merger. Not in the way that we think. It's like just everyday we experience, no? Can anybody say, this is the moment I slept? I fell asleep. You go closer, closer, closer into the sleep state, then suddenly you are in sleep. Right? That's exactly what happens. So there is no awareness of the merger. You are in merger, that's all. You are beyond a state of merger without awareness. Or can anybody say, youngsters can answer this. Can anybody say that this is the moment I fell in love? Not possible. Right? You will become aware that you have fallen in love. But if somebody were to ask what moment, you cannot say. And sister is cooking, say sambar. And then she'll taste the sambar, say a few times. Every time she tastes it, there is a difference in subtlety of the sambar. At some point of time, it appears to be very perfect. So if somebody were to ask sister, at what moment did it actually become perfect sambar, she cannot say that. It just happens. Right? You are mixing the coffee. Now I have to go and make a coffee. When you're doing the coffee, can you say at what moment the coffee became a perfect blend of the right amount of sweet, right amount of the decoction, and the right amount of milk, and the right amount of heat? Can anybody say that? Although it's happening right in front of our eyes, we are doing it, but we cannot catch that moment. That's the beauty of the nature. It is there right in front of your eyes, but you cannot catch it. You are just there, that's all. So I'm giving you 3, 4 examples. Now again, driving. Can anybody say this is the moment I actually learned driving? Can anybody say that this is the moment I learned swimming? Nobody can say. You just transition from this state to that state. And nobody knows at what moment. You can apply this to every skill that you learn. Can you say, this is the moment I became educated? No. It's happening right through our life. It's happening and we are full eyes open, everything we are seeing with attention. But we don't know. What's the moment that we actually change from a illiterate to a literate person? Serena. So one other example to give is